Some bargains are sealed with a kiss, others with a scream. When Mark Sadouj sells his soul to save the woman he loves, he doesn't just awaken an ancient evil, he tears open a doorway to hell itself. The Sleepy Hollow Incident is a gothic horror series by award-winning author PD Alleva that weaves gothic atmosphere with a supernatural crime thriller. Brutal, beautiful, and exhilarating. The Sleepy Hollow Incident is more than your next binge read. It's an addictive indulgence that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, dripping with atmosphere, bursting with brutality, humming with magical mystery. The Sleepy Hollow Incident is an alluring, twisted journey of death, desire, and sacrifice that'll leave you breathless. Available wherever books are sold. Run, don't walk, and pick up this masterful series today.
Hey, Diego the Podcaster here, inviting you to save 20% off your entire order at pdalleva.com. That's pdalleva.com with the promo code Diego, which is an exclusive 20% discount for my friends and listeners of Let's Find Out with Diego. The promo code Diego is only good until January 15th for that 20% discount off an entire order today at time of checkout. Author PD Alleva's The Sleepy Hollow Incident. You will be fascinated.
Warning. The following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The borders of space and time have opened once again. And transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you. Wake up and remember.
On this episode of Let's Find Out, get ready to explore horror and sci-fi novels that fuse ancient alien theories, forgotten wisdom, and the mind-bending reality of quantum mechanics. But the fiction our guest writes might not be the strangest thing about him. This master of dark storytelling is also a witness to the unknown. Growing up in Westchester County, New York, a genuine hotbed of UFO activity during a time, he witnessed a UFO. All this plus more. Please welcome our new friend and first-time guest, sci-fi horror author and UFO witness, PD Alleva. PD, my friend, welcome to Let's Find Out.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's sometimes the pre-interviews are some of the most amazing conversations I had. By the time I have the interview, I'm thinking, shit, I should have just recorded that and put it on. But we're gonna start over almost in a way, my friend. But I'm glad that you actually contacted me, and we've been conversing back and forth for the last month or so. Finally nailed you down. You're very busy, and we're gonna talk definitely about the new series, Sleepy Hollow Incident. Just by looking at the covers, I'm on the hook already. And I think it looks like it sets a real great tone for what you're trying to do. And as I was reading over the notes, like I said, we have tons to cover. Let's look at your time living in Westchester County in New York. And I know you said you were there. It was at the age of up to the age of 12, correct?
It's 12 years old, so it was 1987. At that time, there was a lot of UFO activity going on. Ancient Aliens even did an episode on it called The Druid Connection. And what's funny is I'm close to West Point. What is West Point? Right? So West Point has its nuclear power plant there. And they always say that aliens on these UFOs are always seen very close to nuclear power plants. Now, it's 1987. I'm 12 years old. It's the summer. And we're all outside. I'm outside with my friends. There's tons of people out. And all of a sudden, somebody goes, "What the hell is that?" And we all look. And right above the Taconic Parkway, just hovering there, is this flying disc. What is it? A UFO? Yes, I believe it's a UFO. What could it be? Could be anything. But there's a UFO standing there and just hovering. And we're all just watching it. And it's kind of like it feels like it's watching us at the same time, right? You know, what are all these humans doing out? What are you doing down there? And it's just watching us. And we're watching it. And all of a sudden it's gone within a split second, right? And it probably lasted, I'd say, a couple minutes. The crazy part is a few days later, black helicopters fly around in the exact same part of where we are. And they were all in formation. I think there was maybe like 7 of them flying kind of like in a formation, kind of like a UFO. Why are these black helicopters there, right? Are they there because they wanted to say, hey, this is what you saw, so dismiss that UFO that you saw, right? Or are they trying to do something else? Were they there because the UFO was there and they were checking it out, right? That black helicopter always just sat with me, right? What is the government doing, right? You know, because that UFO could have been something different, right? It could have been a a government experiment. Who the hell knows, right? But why are these black helicopters coming out trying to convince us that this is what you saw? That's what everybody believed in the neighborhood. This is what you saw. You didn't see this flying disc over the Taconic Parkway just sitting there, just took off in a second. You saw these black helicopters. Obviously, they weren't black helicopters. They looked very, UFO that we saw was very different. But also, in the same area, my mother had witnessed a UFO out over the Jefferson Valley Mall in the Hudson Valley. But this UFO was a lot closer. It was like hovering over the Jefferson Valley Mall, and hundreds of people saw that. I remember more than a few of my friends' parents had witnessed the same thing. So it was a hotbed of activity for a long time. And I do believe since that time, I've always had this like fascination with the unknown, number one, but also too with aliens. Are they here? I remember a friend of mine years later kind of came up with a theory that, well, maybe that's us in the future trying to come back to see what happened, what went wrong in society, right? How can we fix the problems and just bring it into the future so we can figure out what happened? I mean, such great theories. It's such an intriguing topic. And we really don't know until you actually know, right? Until you've actually sitting there and you're actually talking to an alien, right? And you could be an alien, for Pete's sakes. I wouldn't know it when I'm talking to you right now, right? It's a fact, you never actually know who is actually out there and who does know the information. Because what I do know above all is that somebody 100% has this information. Who are those people and how we can get those people? Why are they not disclosing it? And then my research just keeps going, right? Since that time. Have you ever read the Robert Morningsky papers? The Terra papers by Robert Morningsky. Okay. You'll love this. This is absolutely fascinating. I'll send you a link when we're done recording. So Robert Morningsky is a Native American Indian. And he was in college, and the college wanted him to write a paper about evolution, the history of humanity, right? Now, according to him and his tribe where he came from, is that his grandfather was one of 6 kids who actually came upon an alien that told them the entire history of humanity, right? Fantastic story. I base a lot of my series, The Dark Veil, which is about alien vampires subjugating humanity after World War III. But a lot of the lore that is in that novel, in that series, is coming from the Robert Morningsky papers. And what's amazing is he goes through the entire history from the 12th planet and how the 12th planet was destroyed in this big galactic war, and how that's the asteroid belt sitting between us and Mars. And that they came here at that time and they genetically, obviously, did something to the apes and primates that were there at the time with their genetics to actually make them who we are now. I mean, just fantastic stuff. But it was right after World War III where he stated that after World War III, it's too funny, World War II, that he stated that our president was actually confronted by an alien gray at that time, and came up with, we'll allow you to use our technology, right? But we want to be able to abduct humans because we want to do experiments on you. And supposedly this is the secret that has happened, has been going on since that time. Now, I don't know about you or anybody else out there, but I find that absolutely fascinating. So you got to think, since that time, where has technology gone? right? Or technology is just ramped up like that, and it just keeps going, and keeps getting crazier. Those types of theories to me are absolutely just, it gets the heart. It's like, I need to know. And by needing to know, it's like, this is why I need to write these books and put these theories and everything into my stories. And first of all, it makes for great fiction, number one. But number two, it's close to the heart. It's in that intrigue. It's like, we always want to know. We want to know what that unknown is, right? We want to see it. We want to touch it. We want to taste it, and we want to know, right? And that mystery is always there. But why do they keep it from us? I guess that's the biggest question, right?
It is, seeing that now everybody has a camera in their pocket or in their vehicle or a Ring camera. It's a little bit harder now to hide these kind of things, but then there are people out there that will do these hoaxes, especially with AI now running wild and everything.
Yes.
But I'm going to go back a little bit to New York when you witnessed the disc in the sky. And I know that possibly some of this experience or the story your mother told you about what she saw might have, was it, I want to say life-changing, but did that change your view on things? Did that also help influence your writing as well? I think we got a little taste of that, what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. It influenced me in large ways, right? So, I mean, I always consider myself a philosopher, trying to figure out the world, the age-old philosophy questions. What is the meaning of life? Although I think I might have figured that one out, but that's a different story, right? The meaning of life is simply just to live. That's what we're here to do, right? But when you see a disc like that, it does something to you because it opens up an entire universe of possibilities, right? What else is out there? It's like, we as humans, we're still in our infancy. What do we actually know? It's like everything that even scientifically that we know now, 500 years from now is going to be completely different. What is actually going on in the universe, we don't know. And that's what that possibility opened up to me. I want to know everything that's going on in the universe. I want to know about interdimensional travel. I want to know about, different dimensions. I want to know everything that's out there. Absorb it, soak it up. I also have done a lot of research and a lot of reading into like ancient philosophy, ancient wisdom. And I always find it interesting to me, so I'm also into like quantum physics. And I always find it interesting that the ancients and what they believed, if you look at it in a certain way, it actually comes down to like more of a quantum physics, quantum mechanics type of mindset. All these types of philosophies and all this intrigue came from seeing that disc. It completely opened my mind up. Crazy story. And this happened, I'd say, about 10, 15 years ago. So I had a business partner. And me and him, we kind of like butted heads a lot, right? So, and I have a lot of very eccentric friends, one of which is a clairvoyant who received her clairvoyancy after a near-death experience with leukemia. She kind of put me under in a state of hypnosis where she said that she was contacted by alien greys that wanted to download information to me about this partner. And what's funny is he had told me previously about a time when he was on the beach in Florida. He was from Florida, I was from New York, where he and his friend had seen, Florida has a lot of activity too, had seen a UFO over the ocean, right? And he said, specific, is that him and his friend woke up 8 hours later on the beach. They saw the disc, woke up 8 hours later. Now I'm taking this information. After I see this clairvoyant, what the download of information that I received is that I'm waking up on what I believe is a UFO ship. And I actually woke up and walked around, and I go into this other room, and he's there. My business partner is there. So is that a connection, right? He, considering his age compared to me, is that he's seeing this UFO over the beach of Florida at almost the same time that I'm seeing this UFO in the Hudson Valley. So is there a connection? Did I make this up? Why would I make this up? right? I'm not schizophrenic. I'm actually a therapist. Crazy as that sounds, right? And a hypnotherapist. So there's no mental health disorders going on, right? So I have this clairvoyant. She's a very good friend of mine. She comes from a very prominent family. She's very reputable. And I get this download of information. He's there. And it's kind of like explains the situation and the friction between the two of us and what we had gone through. Like we were supposed to meet to help each other in a certain way and then part ways again. And that business venture petered out over time. It's like we served our purpose for each other and then went on, right? It's to me, it's just fascinating. And having friends like that who, I have friends who are clairvoyants. I have friends that he was a good friend that he was a consult to the Pope, right? I have friends who have taught in schools, private schools for the Illuminati. All this information, when you go back to it, is just absolutely fascinating. But if you relate it back to ancient philosophy, everything the ancients said was 100% true. And we could use that information for who we are now. Like as a therapist, psychologically, all right, so what I'm saying to you, if you were a patient of mine, you came to me to say this, what would I think, right? You know, it's automatically dismissed. But that doesn't mean that it's not true. Just because we can't see it, touch it, and taste it doesn't mean that it's not true. Therapists in the world needs to start taking more of an open mind to understand people and what they're going through and not be so dismissive. So one thing I don't like about my field of psychology is it's very dismissive to such things. Like with my schizophrenic clients, okay, so maybe this is something completely different than what we're thinking, and maybe what you're seeing has a connection to another realm, right? Another dimension, and those are things that you're seeing. We're too quick in today's society, in my opinion, to say, here's a pill, solve your problem, which is the problem to begin with, right? In my opinion, what I tell my patients all the time is every human being is self-healing. You just need to be taught on how to self-heal. Everything that you need to heal yourself is already within you. You don't need a pill, but society is all about, here's a pill, it'll solve your problem. Here's a book, it'll solve your problem. Here's religion, it'll solve your problem. And you know what? Yes, those things might help this problem, right? But it's not a 100% viable solution, because connect with yourself, you could heal yourself, right? Accept yourself, you could heal yourself. And that's what that comes down to. And that's what the ancients were always trying to say, right? And then let's get into healing. Pythagoras. Oh, I love Pythagoras. He used to heal people by using simple vibrational patterns. How is he able to do this? He was able to do this because everything is frequency, vibration, and energy. That's why. And he was in tune to this information. He understood this information. Where did he get it from? I don't know. From higher above? Yeah, more than likely. But what's the higher above? The higher above is that connection into the universe, right? It's like heart consciousness. I always look at heart consciousness. I don't see consciousness always coming from the brain. I see it through the heart, right? The holographic universe, Michael Talbot, right? So he's saying, his theory is that we're all in this like two-dimensional super souls, right? And all this physical reality that we have here. What is it? It's a projection. It's a hologram from our mind that we're projecting this, right? So to me, that projection, let's say this is all true, that projection, that consciousness is coming from the heart, because emotion is the most powerful energy that's out there. Right? Somebody feels depressed, somebody feels elated. These emotions just overwhelm the entire body, the entire system. Where is it coming from? It's coming from the heart. When somebody says you have a broken heart, you actually feel like your heart was shattered, like somebody hit it with a baseball bat, right? It's coming from the heart. I believe that's where our consciousness is coming from. And that consciousness goes straight to our subconscious inner brain. It starts making all these decisions. It knows everything that's going on.
And that makes sense, because the second you said that, and I don't know if the listeners go to the gym or not, or any kind of physical activity. There's a theory out there about the mind-muscle connection. Mm-hmm. So when somebody, let's say they're doing a set of buys or they're doing shoulders, if they connect their mind to that muscle, not saying willing it to grow, but if they can't just, I guess, jive with it, they actually get more out of the workout. instead of just doing bicep curls all day. That the mind muscle connection apparently seems to work for some people.
Correct. Because the body holds memory itself. It's like, take two people, right? God forbid something happens. They get into an accident, right? And they can't use their legs anymore. They're paralyzed from the mind down. Somebody who has been more of a physically, person who is always working out, building up their body, is more than likely to get out of that wheelchair and fix themselves than somebody who has been lazy. Why? Because the body holds memory. I have a family member who had an unfortunate stroke due to drug addiction, right? But he was also, growing up, he was an athlete. He's completely sober now. It's been years. He's doing great. But when he came out of that seizure, he couldn't move, right? He looked like he had, what is it called? That Michael J. Fox has.
MS.
Not
MS?
MS. No, what is it? Not MS, something else. Parkinson's.
Yes.
Right. So he was always shaking, right? He couldn't move at all. Because he was an athlete growing up, and even in his drug addiction, he kind of stayed being athletic. He's come full circle at this point, right? Close to it, at least. Why is that? Because the body holds memory. It's all within our body. It's that mind-body connection that can get us through anything. It's who do we want to be? You could manifest anything, but if you got to be, it's not sound mind, it's sound mind, sound body, right? Take care of yourself. Don't put poison into your body. And that's what those medications are. They're poison, right? Too many of them is not good. And as I always tell my patients too, listen, 90% of society has anxiety. Guess what it's called? It's called stress. Right? Before we start pumping kids or young adults with pills, here's your pill, solve your problem, teach them some coping skills. See if it actually is an anxiety disorder. An anxiety disorder is completely different than stress. Everyone's got generalized anxiety disorder, right? It's called generalized anxiety disorder for a reason. You don't need a pill for that. You need to learn how to cope and deal with stress in a healthy way. You don't need pills for it, but pharmaceutical companies love pumping those pills, don't they?
It's a money-making industry, multi-billion dollars, and it doesn't matter who's in charge. If they're going to change anything, they're not going to change nothing because everybody's getting a piece of the pie.
Correct.
But, for me, what works for me, and I know life is stressful for a lot of folks. Some people handle it better than others. My stress relievers is usually come from interviewing guests, doing research, working on the show. I can harness all that negative energy and turn it into something creative, more positive.
Yes.
People say you'll get it. Yeah.
Creativity is a huge coping skill. I hear it all the time. Somebody is going to be writing an article to the Horror Writers Association, in which case they are using writing horror as a way to get over trauma. Right? Because it gets what it is. It's energy that sits in our cells, right? It's energy that sits in our cells. This is why yoga works. All right. So FYI, I'm also a hypnotherapist and psychologist, and my specialty is trauma. Just so everybody knows out there, right? But we tell our patients to do yoga. Why? Because yoga, it's kind of like, if anybody's ever taken a psychedelic like mushrooms before, all right, so this is how I'm going to relate it. What is going on with mushrooms, why you're feeling so good, is because everything in your system, all your cells, all your atoms are vibrating at a high frequency, right? And what it does is by vibrating at a high frequency, it gets rid of the negative energy, kind of expels it from the body, it purges it from the body. Yoga does the same exact thing, obviously on a non-psychedelic level, right? But it does the same exact thing. It's ramping up your vibrational pattern where it expels the negative energy, because that negative energy will sit inside our cells. Remember, an atom is what? It's protons, neutrons, electrons, but it's mostly empty space. It's like 99.9999999% empty space. What's in that empty space? Our emotions are in that space, right? Our traumas are in that. Our memories are in that. That's what's in that empty space. And when somebody does yoga who has had a traumatic experience, it helps them because it's relieving that negative energy from their body.
Yeah, and I can see that because one of the things about escapism, I think that there are those people who are not satisfied where they're at in life, and I'm not talking about recreational drug users, but those that rely on these substances to get through life. It's almost that they're trying to escape this earth without actually doing the deed. And I guess however many hours they're on that, I'll call it a trip, at least their stress level is lowered. I don't know. Maybe
it's definitely true. I mean, all research proves that people who do psychedelic mushrooms, like once every a while, right, every 6 months to a year, lead less stressful lives, right? They're more calm. They're more in tune with themselves. I mean, it's just a fact, right? There's a YouTube video, if you just type in your search bar, just say breathing techniques to release DMT, right? And you'll see a guy with a Metallica t-shirt. Now, listen, you can always trust a guy in a Metallica t-shirt, in my opinion, for the most part, right? And what he's doing, it's the Wim Hof breathing exercise, but he combines it with a few others. And once you do this video, it's about 20 minutes. And when you do this video, and if you do it consistently, especially, what'll happen is as soon as you start doing it, your mind will know, right? Because the association is there 100%. As soon as you start breathing like that, you go into relaxed euphoric state. Is it releasing DMT? Well, I don't know. I'm not a researcher. I'm not measuring somebody's DMT level at that point, but I do know that I have done it, and I've done it with actually in a group setting with my patients as well. And it's always the same effect. They feel absolutely wonderful after it. Why? You're breathing, right? You're breathing and you're releasing some neurotoxin in your brain 100% that is making you feel calm. So do it. You don't need the psychedelic drug is what I'm saying, right? You could actually do that breathing technique and almost feel almost the exact same way. Obviously, it's not going to last for 8 hours, but you're going to feel great.
I'd almost recommend the yoga or the relaxation techniques over psychedelics. I'm not one to preach, but you don't want to get hooked on something because,
Correct.
The highs, you're going to want to get even more higher than the first time you tried it. That's a whole different PSA, just say no, like Nancy used to tell me back in the days. So if we're going into, you're talking about cells.
Yeah, cells, atoms, vibrations, frequencies. I always ask my patients, what's your default mode vibrational frequency? In other words, are you an anxious person, a depressed person? Are you a calm person, a reserved person? Like, what is your default mode? Obviously, my patients, most of them are coming either depression or anxiety. It's either one or the other, right? And how I relate to that is, think of it, our bodies are mostly made of water, right? So if somebody is anxious or angry, it's like we took our body of water, put it on the stove, cranked up the heat, now it's boiling, it's steaming over, right? Picture somebody sad and depressed. It's if you took their body of water, now you stuck it in the freezer. Now it's cold, right? And painful. Those great descriptions of those two. But in both cases, the best remedy is movement. Get out there and move. Put your focus into something. Go for a walk. To me, walking is absolutely the best thing any human being could do, especially when you get older, like I'm getting there. Go for that nice walk. Enjoy it. Because what are you doing, right? If you're anxious and angry, by the time you take a 2-mile walk, you're not anxious and angry anymore. Why is that? Because you're exorcising all that negativity out of your system, out of your cells, right? If you're depressed, the last thing you want to do is what? Go for a walk, right? But unless you don't have any excuse not to go for a walk, I hate to tell you, even if you're depressed to the extent where, it gets a little too heavy, you can still go for a walk. And once you do it once and you get the relief, right? You took your depression from a 10 to like a 6. Well, that's a coping skill you can have the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's almost like an energy exchange.
Correct. Exactly.
The negative comes out, the positive comes in. And sometimes, depending on what you're doing, sometimes you get those dopamine hits.
Yeah.
And that's usually a really good thing. And I was having a conversation last summer with a gentleman. I think he studies vibrations somehow, but he does it with music. And I'm not quite a student of this type of conversation, but it pretty much the long short is different styles of music, depending on what you're listening to, people react differently.
Correct.
I don't know if it's something to do with talking about vibration, the sound waves of that music. I don't know. Sometimes it's a negative reaction. Sometimes it's a very positive reaction.
Yeah.
I guess depending on what style you like. Is there something to that?
Well, frequency is probably the frequency in which the music is created. Normally, like below 300 hertz is a low frequency. That's like we're depressed, right? We're depressed, we're fearful, we're in hate mode, right? But anything once you start rising above the 400 level frequency, you start to feel calm, right? Euphoric, all that stuff. So certain music has those frequencies, right? I'm not going to put on like gangster rap if I'm feeling angry, right? Because it's going to fuel my anger. I'm going to put on Mozart. Why? Because the frequency is completely different, right? It's exorcising those vibrations, exercising those emotions out of the cells and out of the system to make you feel better. But there's also association, right? So like if I like a song and then I associate it with feeling calm, because let's say I was in the back of my car having a good time with my family, and my dad was listening to the Rolling Stones, right? Sympathy for the Devil. So I might relate that in my mind to say, hey, this is a great time, right? Where somebody might relate that song in a different context completely and find it depressing. Right. So the association in our mind 100% has how we see that frequency or how we see that song.
That makes a lot of sense too, because certain songs remind you of certain things, certain times in your life. You know, like if I'm going to listen to Megadeth, well, I'm that 12 to 14-year-old kid with that mullet having a great time back in the day. And so I guess, you know, I know it's a big stretch, but I guess the spirit of the conversation is there. Now, going back to age 12, at that time of your life, were you always geared to become an author, or were you looking at other avenues, what you wanted to do as an adult, or was that something you always wanted to do, be a writer?
Always wanted. I've been writing since I was way before I was 12 as well. I remember I was in second grade and I wrote a story with a friend of mine. What's funny is actually I saw him about a month ago, and we were actually talking about this story that we wrote because, you know, now that I'm writing and stuff, we were just reminiscing, having a good time. And it was a story about a girl that brings a hamster to take your pet to school day. But while she's there, the hamster escapes. Can't find the hamster. Flash forward 10 years later, she returns to the school for some like high school, whatever, you know, we're going to the school to become a teacher or whatever. But while she's there, the hamster, who has been eating crayons for the last 10 years, has grown to an exponential size and starts terrorizing all the kids. But in the end, he really just wanted to go home, which I think I took a lot from a movie called Alligator, which was a B-rated horror movie in the early 80s.
It was made for TV. A kid flushed a small alligator down a toilet, and it grew up in the sewer.
Correct. What's so funny is I couldn't believe it, but about 2-3 months ago, that movie was actually on. I'm like, I'm going to watch this again. And what I forgot what was happening in that movie, seen so long ago, is that there is a part where there is a experiment going on with a lab in the same area where it's a growth hormone that they're giving pets. And supposedly all this growth hormone got washed into the sewer, which is why the alligator is so big.
Yes. Now you're taking me down memory lane. I think back then, animal movies were kind of big. I think there was another one. I don't think it was giant size, Ben, but this kid had a rat. And these rats ran amok. Of course, people died during the movie, but it was called Ben. I think they remade it with the guy who played the dad in Back to the Future. We can geek out on some stuff like that later on, but
we can.
So we always into the horror theme then, or you were building on the hamster story, moving onward?
I was always into horror. My father, well, remember the early 80s, what came out? The VCR came out, right? And all the video stores started popping up, right? And what was huge during the 80s was B-rated horror movies. And my dad loved B-rated horror movies. So he's got my dad here, and he's got 4 sons, and we're all watching B-rated horror movies probably since I was like 5 years old. So horror has always been there for me. Plus, I was an insomniac when I was a child as well. when I was a year old, my mom told me stories. Obviously, I don't have too many memories of this, but my mom told me stories of how I only slept 1 hour a night during that time, right? Later on, about 20, 30 years later, she actually mentioned that she believed that there was a ghost in the room next to mine, and they refused to go into that room during the entire time they lived there. Well, thanks, Mom. Maybe you should have took your child out of that room, right? And my uncle tells me a story about how one time he was babysitting us, and he was laying on the couch, and he looks up and he sees me, and he said that I couldn't have been more than like a year old around this time. And I crawled down the steps, crawled into the kitchen, opened the cabinet, took out a pan, went over to the couch, hit him over the head with the pan, went back in the kitchen, put the pan back, crawled back up the steps, and went back to sleep.
That is something.
I know. Crazy shit, right? Now, obviously, I have no memory of this. I'm just relying on what people are telling me. But who would come up with a story like that, right?
What kind of makes sense? A pen and you're writing, there's something to it.
Correct.
Now, we're talking back then, B movies. I still love B movies. At that time, I had one of them old VCRs that were top loading. And I was really into sci-fi, some horror, but I love movies like Beastmaster, Deathstalker. And any barbarian movie that's out there, I would watch it. Or ninja movies, American Ninja. And
that's so funny. I watched American Ninja 2 days ago.
Oh, get out of town, man!
I couldn't believe it was on. I was like, what is going on here? All these old B-rated movies from the 80s have been on the last couple of months, but I couldn't believe it was on, so I definitely watched it. Actually, not too bad of a movie. Obviously, the acting is not there, but it was actually an entertaining movie even then.
Yeah, I think who was it? Was it Michael Dudikoff? So
that's exactly who it was.
Michael here we go, man.
You got a good memory, my man.
Oh, I don't know. I survived the 80s and 90s. I don't know how I came out with my memory from that, but we're talking about B movies all night long, man. So, Sleepy Hollow incident. You're taking the totality of your experiences in life, with B horror movies, with your experiences witnessing a UFO, paranormal experiences, and stories from your friends and those closest to you. Mm-hmm. And I know I might not ask you the question, but how much of that creeps into your stories?
Tons of it. Almost all of it creeps into the stories. Depends on the story, obviously, right? So with the Sleepy Hollow incident, mainly what it is Shibolba, right? So there is a portal to hell in Sleepy Hollow that leads to Shibolba. And where does Shibolba come from? That's what the Mayans called their cave that they believe. Well, they didn't believe it led into hell. They just believe it led into another dimension where these evil creatures were, right? I love that concept. It's an energetic portal on the earth, right? And I've seen several episodes of Ancient Aliens where they mention this too. They're like hot pockets across the earth where it's like the energy converges. There's something different about the energy that's there, right? So, and they related this to the Mayans and their Shibolba, of which case the Mayans believe that if you went too far into this cave, you ended up in a not so good place. That obviously Shibolba is their version of hell, right? That the Catholics have, right? So I find that absolutely fascinating. And Shibolba is a main thread throughout that entire series. Now, the Sleepy Hollow incident is a series itself, but the Sleepy Hollow incident is also part of a larger series called The Dominion of Shadows. And Shibolba is a mainstay, a common theme throughout those. They're all standalone novels, right? But it's a common theme is Shibolba. Jiggly Spot and the Zero Intellect, right, really gets into the Shibolba UFOs. I mean, Jiggly Spot and the Zero Intellect is about a half human, half warlock, traveling carnival clown who is also a lackey for demonic entities from Shibolba, right? And he's been tasked with pulling off the 2019 summer solstice celebration. So it takes him from Westchester County, New York, all the way to California to the Cannibal Cafe, right? So in the Cannibal Cafe, there's a portal that takes the recipients, the attendees of this Cannibal Cafe celebration into Shibolba, right? And then brings the demons through this portal into our homeland as well. And he's tasked with facilitating this. Jiggly Spot also Now, there's also theories, right? So there's aliens that are out there, but also the CIA is covering it up. So the CIA actually has alien ships and is pretending to be aliens at a certain point to do whatever, scare certain people in the industry. And so I use that in there as well, because there's an FBI agent that is traveling or trying to find Jiggly Spot during the time, and he gets abducted by aliens, and that's not a spoiler because it happens at the beginning of the novel. So a lot of it goes, a lot of all the horror, the aliens, everything like that finds its way into my novels in some way or fashion. Obviously, some novels are bigger into it, and where other novels it's more of a mention, like Golem, which is the first book in Dominion of Shadows, which is about a high society sculptor and socialite who incarnates a demon into a statue she created in 1947 New York. But this demon is from the planet Shibolba. But the way they get there in that book is there's a spot on the eye. Anybody who's been possessed by this demon, there's a black spot on their eye where if you stare into it, it's like a trap door in the back of the eye that takes you to this planet. Whereas in Jiggly Spot, there's the portal, right, that takes you to Shibolba. And then in Sleepy Hollow, it's in a cave in the bottom of Sleepy Hollow where you're entering into Shibolba.
You got a lot of awesome things going on all at the same time in this story. And now are there 3 books in the series so far?
Okay, so the Sleepy Hollow incident itself is 4 books, although I'm releasing it also as a complete novel. But the Dominion of Shadows series, which is what Sleepy Hollow Incident is within, with the Golem and then Jiggly Spot, they're all there together, right? So that's the main series that's there. So there's 3 books in Dominion of Shadows, but Sleepy Hollow Incident is 4 books. The reason I broke it up is because it's a very long book, right? Think like Stephen King's It, right? Or The Stand. It's a long book. So in today's society, people want a little bit at a time. So that's why I broke it up into 4 individual books, but also I'm releasing it as an omnibus edition.
Because I'm actually on the site right now, pdalleva.com, and I'm looking at the covers of the book. I just now caught on to this. I'm a little slow, my friend. I'm sorry about this, but
You're all right, my man.
Each cover, the look of the person in the book changes slightly each one.
Yeah. Yes, on the Sleepy Hollow incident. Because there's something going on, and those covers will be explained throughout the story as well. It's a Faustian bargain story, the Sleepy Hollow incident. About a romance writer gets into a horrific car crash with his fiancée. She's on the brink of death. He has been haunted by somebody he calls the Man in Black since he was a child. Grew up in a very tumultuous childhood, home life. Has been following him since the whole time. So when she gets into this horrific car crash, he makes a deal with this demon. Unbeknownst to him, he doesn't know he's a demon, but makes a deal with the Man in Black to bring her back to life. Hence, the Faustian bargain happens, and then the whole story begins.
Excellent.
It's a crime thriller, too. So you got multiple characters, and honestly, the best supporting cast I think I've ever written. Although Jiggly Spot's supporting cast is pretty good too, but the Sleepy Hollow incident, that supporting cast takes the story, and you just absolutely love the supporting cast. And it moves a mile a minute. It doesn't matter how big the book is. As soon as you get into part 2 and that crime thriller starts to happen, you're just pumping through the whole thing, right? And Washington Irving actually has a very specific role in the book too. Not the Headless Horseman. Washington Irving himself has a huge part in the backstory that's going on. The way it's presented came out organically. I'm very proud about that. Being from Westchester myself and being at Washington Irving's house like 100 times in my life, and that story, The Headless Horseman, always had a profound effect on me, obviously, right? Writing a book about Sleepy Hollow. So he's in there, and I love that he's in there, and he kicks ass while he's in there too.
That story to me when I was a kid, it was very haunting. I loved it. I love that story. I think there's back when I lived in Virginia, I think there's a Sleepy Hollow elementary school or junior high school. I don't know why they call it that. It's in Virginia, but anyway, yeah, pretty interesting. I always loved the whole concept of that story. And I know was it early '90s, the Johnny Depp one?
Yes, I think late '90s, maybe late '90s. Yeah, it was the late 90s because I think my son was born in 99. It was around that time too. That was good. It doesn't like the book itself. Legend of Sleepy Hollow is more like a farce, right? The Headless Horseman isn't actually real. It's Brom Jones just scaring the shit out of Ichabod. But over time, we've taken it to a different context. But I love the Johnny Depp movie. Actually, when I first saw it, I was a little upset that they didn't go with the original. But then I'm like, no, but it's really good and it's a lot of fun. So I watch it every Halloween.
I've been watching a while. In due time, it's one of my favorites out there. You know, and speaking of talking about horror movies, and I know that we're 80s guys. We love our stuff, even 70s stuff. 70s was like a master class of horror movies. What are you watching now? Because I know horror, I'm not saying it's back in fashion, but I think there's something about these horror movies now. They're kind of just borrowing from some of the stuff that we grew up with.
They are big time. The best movie I think I've seen this year was Sinners. Right? Did you see it?
Not yet, but people keep telling me go see that thing.
It's so good. It's about vampires, right? And I think what is it? The 40s or 50s, something like that. And it's kind of like the old Grindhouse movies. You know, it's like they took a lot from the old Grindhouse movies and how they were presenting it, especially with all the themes that are in it, but also with what was the movie From Dusk Till Dawn, right? With Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney. Kind of like that too, where they're in this one spot and the vampires want to come in, you know? It was fantastic. It was funny, entertaining. The vampires were great. The story with the characters are great, and great cast of supporting characters, right? Definitely the best movie I've seen this year. Now, I will say this though. My favorite book of all time is Frankenstein. Right? So the new Frankenstein just came out, and I've been waiting for this for a long time. And honestly, I was very disappointed in the entire movie. I was disappointed because just for once, I would like someone in Hollywood to present the story the way the author wrote it. Like, stop changing things. Please don't change things, right? The story is perfection. It's been around for what? Like 200 and something years at this point. So maybe not change it, just leave it alone. Like, that's what I don't like about Hollywood, is like when they mess with perfection. It's like you think you know better, but you don't. Just leave it alone. So that to me was disappointing. But you do see like Terrifier. I love Terrifier. Now that was last year, right? But that's old Grindhouse B-rated horror movie type of vibe, right? And we love those type of movies. So that's why I love Terrifier. There's a lot of grief horror out there right now. What is the name of the movie? Bring Her Back was out there. And honestly, I wasn't too impressed with that. That was okay. But a lot of the B-rated horror movies are getting good. Now, my wife loves Dateline, right? So we watch a lot of like documentaries like that. And we just watched, what was it? We just watched one called Love and Death, which is on Netflix. It was an HBO series, and it was a true crime. Well, not true crime. It was yes, it's true crime as it actually happened, but a fictional account of it, whatever. So that was really good. I'm trying to think of one that we just saw, which was really good too. The Beast in Me. The Beast in Me with Claire Danes. It's on Netflix, and I thought that was fantastic. They got the psychological component nailed down. Excellently written series, 100%. And a great villain, Niall Jarvis. That was his name. Great, iconic villain. Loved it. The psychological aspect is definitely there in today's society. Obviously, horror films are out there too. People love the blood and gore. Still to this day, people love the psychological aspect. So there's definitely some good movies out there. Some shitty ones too, but isn't that just par for the course?
And sometimes those are the best ones to watch. Now,
right.
I've been wanting to watch this one. My wife's not a big... See, my wife, not a big horror movie fan, but she'll watch these serial killer documentaries all night long.
So funny. Want to hear something funny? My wife doesn't like horror either, and I'm a horror writer. But she'll watch serial killer shit all day long too.
See, that's what I'm talking about. So, see, you and I are a lot alike. Same era, same love of things like that. Yep. I've been looking forward for this one movie, but my daughter and I will watch the horror movies.
Okay.
Have you seen Clown in the Cornfield yet? I have not.
I haven't, and I need to watch it, actually. My wife won't watch it, so that's a movie I have to watch on my own, right? Because it's too violent for her. But I want to watch it. So you saw it, though. Was it good?
No, I saw the preview. I was like, I
I
gotta
saw the
watch this thing.
preview,
But I'm
yeah.
waiting on the daughter to come back, so we can watch this movie. But it looks highly entertaining. I like being entertained and scared at the same time.
Yeah.
Or it looks pretty awesome. So we talked about it earlier with frequency. We talked about music.
Mhm.
If I'm gonna choose. If you were to take Sleepy Hollow Incident and put a soundtrack to it in order to get a proper mood for the story and setting, who would you have on?
Go with the 90s, right? So a couple beginning quotes from the books, right? So book one starts with a quote from Maisie Starr, right? Fade Into You. Next quote is Pearl Jam. That's my band from the 90s, my favorite band from the 90s. One of my favorite bands from the 90s, but Black. I mean, just they talk about heartbreak. Perfect, right? And then I had to throw an Ozzy Osbourne quote in there because I love Ozzy, right? So that's Changes was in there. Another one, Leonard Cohen, perfect for this time of year too, right? Hallelujah, right? Perfect. But anything from the 90s is going to be great. The 90s angst, especially the early 90s angst that's in there, right? Your Nirvana, your Pearl Jam, your Soundgarden, definitely Alice in Chains, 100% throw it in there. And I've always been a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. That to me is just anarchy personified. Throw it out there. Fuck you, we won't do what you tell you type of thing. I love it, right? So definitely 90s vibe in there. And of course, just mix in some other songs too. Leonard Cohen, I think that was the 80s. Ozzy Osbourne, Changes, that's Black Sabbath, that's in the 70s. But anything that has that kind of grungy type of vibe is going to be what you want to put in there.
And now for the magic question, because we're in a new year now, 2026. Actually, this is the first episode of the year. So I'm excited about the listeners learning more about you. But what's 2026 going to bring for you? Where are you going to be? And where can we find out?
All right, so 2026 is going to be great. I'm going to be doing a lot of book tours, like bookstore signings, right? But also a lot of conventions too in May. And I'm in Connecticut at a place called Reader Mayhem. We're looking forward to that. In the summer, I'm going to be at a few. One of them is a huge one that's called ShiverCon. And that is in Indiana, I believe in early August. Other than that, Horror on the Hudson, that's Hudson Valley, New York. And I cannot wait. I actually missed it this past year, and I was a little upset about that, but that's okay. I'll be there next year. So definitely a lot of conventions and a lot of book signings this year. At the same time, I will be having probably 2 to 4 books out. More than likely 3, I will say, in 2026. The psychological thriller called Girl on a Mission, the extreme horror feline possession story. It's about a possessed feline that terrorizes its adopted family. That'll be coming out. It's called Catfight. And then The Hypnotist. Now, The Hypnotist is in line with everything we're talking about, too. The Hypnotist is about a hypnotist who actually went to an Illuminati private school and learned a lot of crazy stuff about frequencies and vibrations and consciousness, and actually even worked for them in an underground government conspiracy type of army. Got out of it, and now he's a hypnotist trying to help people, but he gets drawn into a missing persons case when an old friend of his goes missing and her cousin shows up. And that is actually takes a lot into effect. Number one, the MK Ultra program. And number 2, the holographic universe. This book, I've been writing it, and it's on my Substack, so you can actually go and read it for free right now, right? 100%. All those stories I just mentioned are all free right now, but they won't be for long. I'd say you got about a month, maybe 2, till I take them off the Substack, because I got to get them all prepared for official publication, do a lot of editing. But they're all in there. But The Hypnotist, this story... And most of my stories take me to places that reach far depths. But this one, it took me completely across the universe. And the reader's going to go across the universe, and you're going to absolutely love it. And that'll be coming out in 2026 as well. So I got a lot going on. Plus, at the same time, I'm going to be writing more short stories. I love honing my craft with a short story, right? And novellas and novelettes as well.
And with all that being said, definitely want to bring you back this year because I think we just scratched the surface, not only about your writing. I like to be a little bit of a nerd with you. We're going to talk some 80s and 70s horror, some of these B movies we love so much. We'll throw in some ninja movies too.
Nice.
I think we have a great time, but I know that the listeners can also find you on Twitter. They can find you on your website, Instagram, your Facebook page. You're everywhere, my friend. And they'll probably see you at one of these book festivals in 2026. So, PD, my friend, thank you so much for being on Let's Find Out, and I'll catch you soon.
Copyright Diego the Podcaster. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out with Diego is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.